Welcome to Sabbath Christian Church's online sermon. This is one of the scariest things one can find, and taking God's name in vain. It's called divination. It has to do with the third commandment. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Divination, especially the name of the Lord. Ezekiel 13:23 says, "Therefore you women will no longer see false visions or practice divination. I will deliver my people out of your hand, so that you may know that I am the Lord your God." Divination got into people's minds and thoughts early on in the Bible. Early on. It is the practice of the knowledge of the future or the unknown supernatural means. It's paranormal, psychic, magical, occult, ghostly, phantom, supernormal, unearthly, and unnatural, and mystical. In Deuteronomy 13:1 it says, "If a prophet or a dreamer dreams arise among you and gives you a sign or wonder," said, "do not listen to these words that the prophet or dreamer dreams for you, for the Lord your God is testing you to find out whether you will love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul." So divination is there for testing people. God doesn't like it because it goes beyond testing. In Deuteronomy 18:14 it says, "For those nations which you shall dispossess, they will do it." God is not going to do this. He's going to have his people do this to keep these things away that listen to witchcraft. But as for you, the Lord your God has not allowed you to go into divination. In Jeremiah 14:14 it says, "Then the Lord said to me, the prophets are falsifying in my name," take God's name in vain, by divination. He says, "Neither have I sent them, nor commanded them, nor spoken to them, for they are prophesying to you a false vision," divination, futility, and deception of their own minds. This is taking God's name in vain, making to him be something that he is not. They're coming up with these kinds of things. And Mark, it says, very, very powerful. "For false Christs," he says this in Mark, during the time of Jesus, and talking about that. "False Christs and false prophets will arise and show signs and wonders," divinations, "in order to lead astray, if possible, the elect." So the divinations were brought into Jesus' time, to Christ's time. Let's look at some divinations and falsehoods that they had in those days. That got into the Bible, as we know, by noise. Didn't belong there, got in there, doesn't belong. It says, accepting the adultery, as some religions say, and we agree, of the virgin birth leads people to believing in a false Christ. God would not do that. He could not have a virgin impregnated. Period. He is God. Deuteronomy 32:4 says, and this is just one spot, "The rock, his work is perfect, his ways are just, a God of righteousness and without injustice. Righteous and upright is he." He could not do this or have a Holy Spirit do that, because it's not righteous, it's not right. It is adultery. It is divination. It is God's name in vain. And then not keeping the Sabbath. Sunday is the 8th day. And we know that he says this over and over again in Genesis. Then God blessed the 7th day. He said, by the 7th day God completed his work which he had done and rested on the 7th day, not the 8th day, not the first day of the week, from all the work which he had done. He rested. He gave the example. He made the day holy. He says, and then he says, God blessed the 7th day, sanctified it, because he rested from the work that he had done and created and made. So these again, Jesus was saying, false Christs, false prophecies. And in Exodus 20, which we will talk about, it says here, God blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. It is the holy day of rest. And finally, the false Christs and the divinations and the things that Jesus' word about would happen to people that could be faked out and fooled and taken away from the right. It says, Isaiah 45 says, and he says this 10,000 times. He says, for the Lord that created the heavens, God himself that formed the earth and made it, God himself, and established it, he created not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. And it says, I am the Lord, there is none else. 10,000 times it says it that. So there is a website that says it must not be forgotten that Jesus Christ is never mentions the phenomenon Trinity. And nowhere in the New Testament does the word Trinity appear. Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. The idea was only adopted by the church 300 years after the death of the Lord. There's research done that they tried very, very hard to match up with the kind of thinking that the pagans had then. And if they could have a Trinity, that kind of divination, then maybe they would come around. And the origin of the conception is entirely impregnated. That's the ucg.org. Most pagan religions were Trinitarian. False Christ, never. And thank you for watching and listening.